think that's part of what makes the Innocence Project such an amazing place for young lawyers and for training, tomorrow's lawyers, is just that our work has always been centered around law students being very integral to the legal work. So when we have law students work with us, it's not that they're a part of, some work that the lawyers are just doing. Our work has always been modeled on law students going back, reading trial transcripts, contacting police departments, searching for evidence, trying to help get evidence to laboratories. And so they're really the heart and soul of what we do, and they always have been, and I think they always will be.
The way that the clinic worked in New York was that I applied for it at my first opportunity, which was as a first-year law student, and then I was chosen to participate as a clinic student in my second year of law school. And from there, I was then hired on as a summer intern the following summer, and then my third year of law school, I was the teaching assistant, a TA in the clinic. So I sort of did like a spectrum of things at the project as a student. In the clinical program, it was really interesting. We would meet once a week with a class, and the class would involve different readings and presenters, and exonerees would come in and talk about their specific cases. Really just sort of learning about all the different causes of wrongful convictions, and also a lot of the legal aspect of doing the work. So I remember one really thorough class where Barry taught all about habeas procedure, and I can still remember the chart up on the wall of like all the state remedies, and then going into federal court and just being really sort of mystified by all of the obstacles and what the work actually requires. But so that was a great learning experience, but really the hands-on experiences were just incredible. So at the Innocence Project in New York, each staff attorney is assigned to a different state. So they each have different states, so they represent all of the clients that are from that particular state. So I worked for Vanessa Potkin, who was at the time in charge of Illinois cases, which is where I'm from, New Jersey cases, Louisiana cases, and Virginia and some other states. So, and Texas as well. And so I would research the different statutes and laws from each of those states and prepare different memos on, in relation to different cases, work on digesting transcripts, so getting, a huge bundle of trial transcripts and going through them and summarizing them in a way that was more accessible for the attorneys to see. Doing evidence searches, so calling the clerk's offices to see what the status was of evidence from particular cases. And then in certain cases, as I sort of proved that I was capable of doing things, you get a little bit more responsibility, actually calling prosecutors' offices and talking with them about trying to get consent to do testing instead of having to litigate it in court. So those were the things I did as a clinical student, and then sort of similar work over the summer. And then as a TA, a lot of that same work, and then in addition sort of helping the students that were new to the clinic and showing them the ropes. And what's also interesting about the project in New York is that because the office is there and the students do their hours in that office, your clients are calling on a regular basis. So the phone is always ringing, and you're getting the collect calls from different inmates trying to talk to their lawyers or the students assigned to their cases. So you get a lot of contact with all the clients, which is really interesting and a great experience also to sort of learn how to, talk to clients and gauge expectations and not, promise too much. And so that, for me, was one of the bigger lessons I learned also.
There was an attorney in Champaign, where the University of Illinois Law School is located, who agreed to assist us on case. It was a high visibility case. It involved a family indicator that had been in prison since 2002. And as we did that, he was also a faculty member at the University of Law School. We began to talk about getting students from the law school to help work on the case as well. And so we developed an arrangement with the University of Illinois Champaign-Urbana to the law school for students there to work on our cases. At the same time, a couple of our undergraduates from the University of Illinois Springfield who had been working with the project and were very committed to our work, had gone to Southern Illinois University Law School at Carbondale, and they wanted to continue their innocence work there. They just really found it extraordinarily gratifying, and so they started talking with faculty members at the law school in Carbondale, Illinois. They started talking with them about forming some kind of a innocence network project, whatever, there, and entered into discussions with us, and we said, well, as long as we're the Downstate Illinois Innocence Project and we have cases in downstate Illinois, maybe we can form a collaborative arrangement with them as well. So we began discussions with them, and then as we started to take the northern cases, it became obvious that this idea of a collaborative arrangement, which the funders seemed to appreciate, I'm not sure we understood how much work it was going to be, but it's been a great effort. We incorporated also Northern Illinois University Law School. So we now are very unique throughout the country. We're working with the 3 public law schools in Illinois. We as an undergraduate, primarily undergraduate, we have some master's students. A school are the hub of the wheel. We vet the cases initially here. Our undergraduates who are extremely well qualified and have been really a source of tremendous gratification, both for their dedication, their work, and their skill. They vet the cases in the Springfield office and then work with the students at these various law schools on those cases.
Yeah, students are part of it, and it's great because they are so energetic, and some of that rubs off on you, the way they do research, the way they look at all these things. Yeah, it is phenomenal, and our students are very, very committed to this cause that we get into this thing. And one way to really carry forward is to have more of the students get exposed to this project. You know, they would be the one who would be in the next 20, 30 years, either be a judge or a prosecutor or a defense attorney, and they would realize that, you know, we need to be careful about what we do. Many times prosecutors would just, you know, they will have a tunnel vision and they will just, so I think having the student get exposed to this is great.
I was originally a student volunteer for that first semester, so from January to I guess like May or June of 2013, I was a volunteer, and then I was an intern over the summer / paid worker, and then this past year I've been in the very lucky position to be paid staff, and it's been an extremely rewarding experience. I'm really grateful for the project, for that opportunity. I think it actually is the only innocence project in the country that uses undergraduate students, and I have to say that I think undergraduate students bring a lot of use. Like I think like there's a lot to be said for having us involved. Like let's say even when you're just doing like a factual analysis of a case, sometimes it's nice to get like a lay person's not jaded, oh, I've seen 1 million murders in my time. Sometimes it's nice to kind of get that fresh and honest perspective when you're looking for what I'll say substantive innocence, like actual innocence, instead of just like, oh, we can't help this person. Or sometimes that kind of wide-eyed view is invaluable, and it can be lost sometimes with exposure, kind of atrophies the further it's exposed to these cases sometimes. So I think that's an excellent argument. Plus, like, we're just so happy to be there. Because I can't tell you how wonderful it is to, like, you read about the justice system, you learn about all these things in class, to actually put that into direct action and engage with the system, to actually have a job where you're using your brain instead of kind of turning it off is delightful.
Actually, I was taking legal writing and analysis with Professor Erica Nichols-Cook, and she was at that time working with the Innocence Project as well. And she asked a couple of us students if we'd be interested in possibly doing our AST, Applied Study Term internship with the Innocence Project. So I really had heard about the Innocence Project, but I didn't know a lot about what it was about. So I thought, oh yeah, I need an internship to graduate, so I might as well take this opportunity. And from then on, I haven't left the office. I've been there for 1.5 years, and I've really enjoyed my experience. When I was told about like the office, I thought, oh yeah, there probably are. I don't think that I was as sold on it as I am today after being there for 1.5 years. I don't know that I'd ever really given it a lot of thought prior to starting with the Innocence Project, but the longer I've been there, the more I'm certain that there are too many people that are in prison that shouldn't be.
Yeah.
There for about a year and a half, I've gotten to meet a couple of people that have been released, and hearing their stories and the impact that innocence projects nationwide have had on their lives is just heartwarming. And you think, wow, if I was in this same position, I would want someone fighting for me. And that's just, part of the legal system is finding justice, and these people have obviously faced injustice, and just being able to right that wrong would be a great opportunity. And innocence project, I would love to, just because I know that my experience as an undergrad being able to work in an office like that is second to none, and I don't think that many people have had the same opportunities that I have to be exposed to something that you're really passionate about at such an early stage. And just the support system that the office has is incredible, and my undergrad experience would not have been as fulfilling if I hadn't had the opportunity to work there.
Great.
The volume of cases that we have, they write case evaluation reports, they give us drafts of motions, they create other documents, evidence charts, and things along those lines. We meet with them, and our students are really in 4 groupings, and they're undergraduate students here at the University of Illinois, Springfield, and law students in Champaign, the University of Illinois, DeKalb, Northern Illinois University, and Carbondale, Southern Illinois University. And we have gotten fantastic work out of all of these students from all these campuses. And the beauty of it for me is when I see a letter or an email from a law student or an undergraduate student who says, and I've heard this phrase more than once, this is the best thing I did in law school.
But I also have read a lot about it, since they sort of have started, and I always wanted to get involved. And that's why probably a lot of us go to Southern Illinois, because it's public interest law school and that's what we want to do. And it's been an amazing experience, and I don't think I could even adequately describe what a positive and fantastic 2 years worth of work that it's been done. I helped on Peggy Jo Jackson's clemency, so that was really awesome. Was supportive of Anthony Murray's, though it wasn't my case. We supported him in all of his hearings and got to see him walk out, which was amazing. And I've helped on a few other DNA cases as well that are still being worked on and still pending. So I've worked on a few cases. For Peggy Jo's, we helped on the petition, we helped on letter writing, trying to get as many people to contact the governor's office as possible. Helped with the petition, passed it around on Facebook, and mentioned it to people at school so that they would get involved as well. Like I said, and that was the biggest case that I did a lot of work on, was hers. And like I said, with Anthony's, we were there for support, basically, for his case. So we went to all of his hearings, and even though we weren't involved in his case in any other way, I think that was very beneficial to him and to the project, just the show of solidarity and support for him.
I worked on a couple of cases, but I never actually got to see any of my cases resolved. So the cases I worked on, the individuals are still incarcerated. It was a great experience. Just I got to go out into the field and do interviews. There's no other experience in law school where I would have had so much hands-on experience working in the system. I got to go back and go through case files that were over 20 years old and see, the mistakes that were made and hopefully avoid those mistakes in my career. And it was a great experience. It's very frustrating because the client that I met with, I believed in his innocence 100%. So it was very frustrating to go and meet with him and see the process so slow. And then, DNA would be sent off, and then the DNA was so degraded that there weren't results from that. And it's very frustrating, and it's frustrating to think that you might have to close a case even though the person is innocent just because the evidence isn't there.
When I started, and I have been on 4 cases total. One of mine is closed because of basically the lack of evidence, but I have one open still. It's going to an appeal. And with Arryn, I went to a lot of Anthony Murray's hearings, and so it's great to see him out. It's great to see him here, and just being happy. It's unbelievably rewarding, and you just can't describe it. It's one of those things that you have to be here to really understand and really, really take it in. Actually, one of my cases, I was probably the second person to ever be assigned to it, and so I know the case inside and out. It's actually Andrew Grant, and so I worked on the DNA motion with another law student. The DNA motion got filed, and I actually got to argue it in court. Unfortunately, it didn't come back with the result we would like, but it is on appeal right now. The appellate public defender has it. Another one of my cases, the DNA motion post-conviction testing is going in the next couple of weeks. It's going to be filed. So I'm just kind of waiting to see what happens with that one.
The attorney visits are between, a piece of glass and the little phones, and you can't hear, and it's cold, and it's awful. And it's really hard to be able to communicate with your client. The nice thing about it, I guess, is, I think it's good for our clients because they know then, if these people are working for us, they care about what I have to say, they care about my case. And so I think it's, if nothing else, a little bit uplifting for them to know that there's someone, someone that's working on the case. And it makes it sort of a little more real too than just reading the case file and know these things happen to this person. But getting to see the actual person and know this is who I'm working for is very powerful.
Working with Innocence Project was the best experience I had in law school because it was I got to help someone firsthand. I got to, and I was involved in the case. I was going out and doing witness interviews and doing research, on my own, and I could, make my own calls on what I wanted to do in certain instances. So it was definitely the best experience I had.
And I think, like they said, it's an honor to be a part of this. And I don't think that everybody realizes that. And like she said, unless you do this, you don't realize how special it is to be able to get to work with these people and to get to help them on their cases. It's that hope. And, I think in both cases, they give us hope and we give them as well. And it's just so incredibly powerful.
I got to visit my client too several times, and he was in Lawrence Correctional Facility, which is a medium security facility. So I actually was in the same room with him, and there wasn't glass in between us. And it was a great experience. And I think the best part about that is that the client then knows that someone cares about him. Even though we haven't had any result, I think the fact that someone believed him, that for the first time ever was on his side, I think that was a big impact for him.
The work at the Illinois Innocence Project is truly a collaborative effort, and I must say that Ken Cloyd should really be the one here talking tonight, because a lot of the work that I did on this case was helping him and helping him to catalog the information that we were able to discover. However, I had the pleasure of meeting Anthony and his mother at the court hearing in June, and meeting the clients is something that's really, it's a reminder of our mission, and it brings everything into perspective and motivates us to keep doing the work that we do, because the outcome of our work can have the potential to change a person's life. I'm so proud to say that I've worked at the Illinois Innocence Project. It's not often that you get to see firsthand that the work that you're doing day after day can do something as monumental as save someone's life. I want to thank Anthony for his patience and his refusal to give up. It's something that I truly admire you for. And finally, I want to thank the Illinois Innocence Project for the work that they do.
I want to give a special thanks to the students who raised the money for the court costs. Charles Legler. I heard about my name, man. I heard you spearheaded it, got everything done. Everybody who participated, I truly appreciate it, The work you all are doing is very important. It's very important for students. A lot of students don't know how important it is to volunteer for the Innocence Project and to help, guys that was like in my situation. The Downstate Illinois Innocence Project is the only ones that believed. Came and visited me numerous times and believed in me. And we got the ball rolling. And John Hanlon, John said, hey, hold your head up. You say you're doing good. We gonna fight. Let's fight. So, well, I'm with that, John. Let's go. Let's do this. Let's go. I've been fighting for all this time. Let's go. So we got together, and Rhonda believed from day one. And Larry, as well as numerous people. I can keep naming them, students and all. And we got together. That's why I say this is like family and friends to me. I obtained friends, and to me, some of the friends I obtained is like family to me now. I love them like family members. And Erica, it's like Gwen, you know, I can keep going. Like I say, I know numerous students. It's like, you know, I know numerous students, and Nicole, you know, I want to say Nicole was there from the beginning, and I know she practicing in Indiana now, but I just want to say that woman really believed. She helped out a lot. She did a lot for me, and to this day, you know, I still say prayers for her and her family and everything, and for everybody else, you know, because this is something, Larry say, you know, it's not easy. It's hard work. And when he told y'all that, it's no joke. I'm telling you from a person that was inside, it's definitely hard work.
I mean, my assistant director at Life After Innocence is Emily Dio, and she was one of the founding students with me. So, you know, the way Life After Innocence, you know, sort of started was this law student came to me with another law student and said, hey, we should start an innocence project. And I heard you did that case where that guy was in lockup for 6 years. And I said, yeah, but I don't do that kind of work, and it's really hard. And also there's, you know, Northwestern has the Center on Wrongful Convictions, and there's now the Illinois Innocence Project, and University of Chicago has the Exoneration Project. And they're really good law firms that sort of do this work, People's Law Office and Lovey. And I said, so I don't do that work, and I think we could never have enough people looking into these things, but we've got a fair amount. And I just told them, I said, you know, I've just been hearing that it's so hard. I've just been hearing how hard it is to start over. And I sort of jokingly said, somebody should start an After Innocence project. And this one law student looked at me, and a couple months later, with the good graces of our deans, they basically gave us a little internal room in the library. And they're like, what are you gonna do in there? We're like, we don't know. And so we sort of started like that. And all of these founding students have now gone into being a public defender, being a state's attorney, in some way into the criminal justice world. And then they've also come back. They still, I mean, all of our alums are pretty active in following up with their exonerees and wanting to know how they can help. And now Emily Dio, who's a public defender, is now, and one of the founding students is now the assistant director. And so it's sort of been a remarkable thing. And then I do see this like kind of really interesting relationships come up with law students and exonerees, and these law students at Loyola Law School in Chicago to really get to the heart of someone who has been so significantly impacted by a system that you're in school to study. It's just this really remarkable, I think, opportunity, and some really neat things come out of it.
So many law students, so many of the classes, and it's great. I love them, and they still call. We still connected today. We haven't cut any relationships off, and it's been great. It's been great.
I do think that, you know, as I watch our young law students and our UIS undergrad students going to law school, I do think that there's hope for the future in terms of better prosecutors, better judges, less, you know, better trials, better investigations. That's all going to help decrease the number of wrongful convictions that occur. So a lot of the cases we're looking at are 20 years old. So I do think there's a lot of hope, and that eventually, particularly because the state agencies are now being held more accountable because of the work that projects around the country are doing, and the cost that it, you know, the cost that has incurred because of convictions being overturned, that I think that the probability, hopefully, will be less and less that convictions, wrongful convictions, continue to occur. So that's my hope, that eventually there won't be a need for innocence projects.
Through the donation of your time, funds, and goodwill, you affect not only the lives of innocent men and women like Mr. Grayson, but you create a lasting change in society through the students who have gained valuable experience with the Innocence Project. Lessons about digging a little deeper for the truth buried underneath layers of uncertain science, political bias, and years of racial tension. Lessons about doing the right thing and being ethical in spite of a system that encourages otherwise. Lessons about valuing the dignity and sanctity of human life over conviction rates. These are the lessons our students have learned, and these are the lessons that we will take with us into careers as attorneys, victim advocates, forensic scientists, teachers, and policymakers. The ills of the criminal justice system are the responsibility of us all. But the unique partnership that exists at the Illinois Innocence Project allows you to have an impact that seeks to even the balance between truth and reality.